Brace yourself this winter because experts say homeowners can expect double-digit increases in their heating bills. This is why I use the new mini space heater in my home and absolutely love how quickly it makes my home toasty warm without raising my heating bills. It's compact but strong enough to warm up my bedroom, living room, office, or anywhere else I need nearly instant warmth. Plus, it includes built-in overheat protection and adjustable heat levels from gentle warmth to toasty comfort. Do yourself a favor and grab one up to 60% off this holiday season only at www.staywarmnow.com. Plus, order today and you'll receive free expedited shipping, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and several other free bonuses. Once again, that's www.staywarmnow.com. Give the gift of warmth this holiday season. Good Saturday morning. I'm still reporting on the Federal Reserve problem. What a wonderful surprise early this morning, and I mean like at 5 a.m., when my friend Bill M. emailed me this little story from last Wednesday's leading leftist blog, The Hill. The chairman of the Fed, Jerome Powell, interestingly a Republican by nature, has just warned that the U.S. national debt is on an unsustainable fiscal path. Powell made these comments during an interview at the New York Times Deal Book Summit, whatever the heck that is. The debt is not at an unsustainable level, but the path is unsustainable, and we know that we have to change that. Powell was first appointed by Trump, but then reappointed by Biden. But Powell's following comment is so dumb it boggles the mind. We don't need to pay the debt down. We don't need to balance the budget. We just need the economy to grow faster than the debt, and that's not happening. All the spending cuts in the world can't do that. Even if we told the entire military budget to just take a one-year siesta, that wouldn't do it either. That could slow the growth, but not reverse it. It's pure fiscal insanity, especially because the Fed will never admit that this insane system does not have to exist at all, just as they will never reveal that they have the power to create our money out of nothing, out of thin air. After Abraham Lincoln won the U.S. Civil War in April of 1865, and issued United States notes to win that war, the U.S. had its biggest boom years of growth ever. That stretch ran wild until the Fed came into existence in 1913. Then what happened? The Great Depression from 1929 to 1939, and it's been nothing but similar booms and busts ever since, as the Fed, from that point on, was managing the system not for the benefit of all Americans, but for the benefit of their owners, the banks. And that is why bank buildings are always the largest buildings in every town in the United States. They are literally temples to the system where banks get to create the money of this country by lending out what is rightfully our money, the nation's money, then charging us interest on it. The banks control all the money of this nation through this fake union that they are all a part of called the Federal Reserve. Again, the 1896 quote from William Jennings Bryan, who was the Democrat nominee for president in 1869, 1900, and 1908, is the most important ever produced when it comes to the question of who should control the quantity of money in this country, or any country. Those who are opposed to this proposition tell us that the government ought to go out of the banking business. I stand with Jefferson rather than with them and tell them, as he did, that the issue of money is a function of the government and that the banks ought to go out of the governing business. The Fed is like a labor union, and the banks are its members. By definition, Jerome Powell cannot tell us the truth about why we have a runaway national debt. He would come to a quick and untimely end if he did. The problem is that our Congress has given away the money power to the Fed. That's why our paper dollars have Federal Reserve Note emblazoned across the top of each and every dollar bill today. Our entire money system is created as an interest-bearing debt. That's not the way it was before the creation of the Federal Reserve System in 1913, but it is today. The truth is that banks now get to create our money out of thin air every time they lend out money. Brand new money is created at the moment that loan is signed and entered into their computer systems. How do I know? When you go to your bank and sign the final loan papers, does the banker go into his vault and load up a pillowcase filled with stacks of $100 bills and then hand you that pillowcase full of money? No. He types some numbers into his computer and then tells you that he has just put the money into your account. What he doesn't tell you is that he didn't lend you money the bank had in their vault. He never ever actually lends you money from his bank. The secret is that at the instant he hits enter on his computer, he just created brand new American money right there before your eyes, money he or the bank didn't have until just that second. Under this system, if we don't have this national debt, then there would be zero national money. That's the truth. So how do we escape this insane debt money system where all money is created as an interest-bearing debt, a racket designed just for the banks? It's actually remarkably easy. There's another way the banks create money. It's through the sale of United States bonds, notes, and T-bills. These are also debt instruments. Banks, both foreign and domestic, as well as private people who have more money than they can spend, like to park some of their money in a safe place, somewhere that pays a modest amount of interest, but is very, very safe. That place is U.S. government bonds, notes, and T-bills. The different categories are because the bonds, notes, and T-bills are held for different time periods and therefore have different interest rates. So here is how we fix this. When those bonds, bills, and notes come due, instead of repaying the investor with Federal Reserve notes, we pay the investor back in the oldest and longest serving form of U.S. money, the United States notes. So the bond, which was an asset, is destroyed, and new money is taken out of the United States Treasury and handed to the investor in repayment for the bond he held onto. So one form of money is destroyed, and another form of money is created to replace it. It's an even trade. The same amount of money is in the system. By this method, nothing changes except the form of repayment. A debt asset is received by the Treasury and destroyed, and a new debt-free asset is put into circulation, one that has worked well in the past. In other words, a small slice of the national debt has been destroyed in this process because the new U.S. note is not a debt-bearing instrument. If incoming President Trump would do this one simple action in his first year in office, he would reduce the national debt by about 35%, because about 35% of the debt are the ones with the shortest terms of 1 year or less. So Trump could wipe out all the shortest term debt in the very first year, something that has only happened once before, and that's when President Andrew Jackson in 1835 paid off the entire national debt. The evidence would be indisputable for all to see on the national debt clock, as the months of the first year of repayment by United States notes or their electronic equivalents flooding into the system. In fact, you would even be able to see the debt-lowering power of this system if you only replaced the Federal Reserve notes with United States notes 10% of the time. Who wouldn't want to do this? Well, the obvious answer, number one, the Fed would be the first loser because they would no longer have the power of money creation in their hands. That's a lot of power, and the Constitution gives that power only to Congress. The number two losers would be the banks. They could only lend out from their actual money they had physically in their vaults. If you don't pay them back, the banks would be the losers. The big winner would be the U.S. Treasury Department, which would be responsible for advising Congress on what quantity of money was needed to put the nation on the optimal course of financial stability. Then Congress would pass a bill authorizing the Treasury to print up some more United States notes if needed. So, in the next 4 years, President Trump could wipe out over 75% of the national debt and could probably negotiate a deal with the remaining bondholders to turn their bonds, bills, and notes in early for some small extra income. Then we'd be free of this debt money system forever in just 4 years. Who wouldn't like this idea? Well, only America's enemies in China, Iran, and elsewhere. I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.